and then I switched to teaching. So we did choose that I take Master of Arts in Education. So ended up applying at Mount St. Vincent University and got the acceptance letter. And that acceptance letter, along with the funds that my family lent me as a show money in my bank account. So we applied for my student visa, and it helped that I lived with family, so we didn't have to compute housing and food, because my aunt and my uncle just had to write a letter that they would house me and then feed me. So that they would support me. So, and then we converted it, and it was, I would remember that it was even last minute. School was starting September and my visa was not in yet. And then I went to the international office, and then I vividly remember there were 3 of them right there. And then the head of the international office, they're like, Alva, how are you? And I'm like, I need to speak with you. And then she goes, yeah, sure. And then I said, in private. And then the other 2 like stood up and then left. And then I was like, well, what am I going to do? School is starting next week. I do not have my papers yet. So I can't remember the exact advice then, but then my paper came. Just right exact.
Just in time.
So just in time. And then, I did my Master of Arts in Education, did my did the classes, and then did the thesis for 1 year, and then graduated, and then converted the student permit to postgrad work permit. So during then, it was called International Graduate Stream.
I see.
So that's the stream that I used to get my permanent residency. The only criteria then, during that time, was 3 months of permanent full-time job.
Okay. That's 13 years ago, right? 13 years.
Yeah, 13 minus 3, like minus 10 years ago.
10 years ago.
I did school for 3 years. So so that's the only requirement, full-time permanent job. It didn't even have to be related to my course. It really just has to be permanent and full-time. Wow. So what I did was I could remember it clearly. So I finished school during May convocation 2011. So May, and then I worked part-time cash jobs from May, June, July, August, September, October, for 6 months. I did cleaning. I went fast food. I went to be a nanny, babysitter. So those are my cash jobs while waiting and applying for my full-time job. So, and then I got hired in November. So November, December, January. So November, as soon as I got hired, I started my documents already. Like I did draft it, prepared everything. So in my thinking, once the 3 months come, so November, December, January, my paper is good to go. So that's how, my application is good to go. So that's what I did. So I did all the papers and whatnot. And even then, my previous company paid for my permanent residency application.
Wow. Wow.
So they paid for it. I guess they really like me, which is good. Yeah. So I always tell my Filipino candidates, it's not hard to like Filipino employees. So that's one thing that we take proud of.
Napaka-interesting yung story mo, Miss Alva, because you came here sa Canada as a tourist visa, and nasa plano na talaga na mag-aaral ako, mag-stay ako, and hindi na ako babalik sa Pilipinas. So that's your mindset. And it's very interesting kasi madami nagtatanong sa atin na pwede ba mag-tourist and at the same time mag-aral dito sa Canada. And ang kagandahan sa sitwasyon mo is may mga relatives ka nandito sa Halifax. And at the same time, nandito yung aunt mo na pwedeng i-guide ka na ito yung best school, this is what we can do for you, we can share a room for you, or ito yung may tulong na nandito. And I think this is a very good strategy. And kung meron kayong same situation with Miss Alva, bakit try to explore that option as well? So from tourist visa, student, permanent, and get a full-time job. And now, nandito sa Canada for more than 13, 14,
13.
13 years.
Almost
13,
14. Yeah,
almost
13
14
years.
years.
Going
And
for
yun very inspiring. And at the same time, yung student pathway story mo, Miss Alva, is different dun sa lahat ng nakausap natin kasi majority ng mga student pathway, they go with programs or diploma. From you, it's a master's degree. Yung considering yung master's degree, just to give you an idea, correct me if I'm wrong, Miss Alba, it's more expensive compare sa mga programs or diploma kasi ito'y nasa university. And yun, speaking of university, Miss Alba, I know most of our CAP or watching right now, wala silang idea about SMU or St. Mary University. Can you share to us, alam natin, it's a university, it's expensive in terms of tuition fee. Can you enlighten us or share to us, ano yung SMU, St. Mary University, gaano siya ka-prestigious? And if you're going to compare this university sa Philippines, ano yung katumbas niya? And in terms of tuition fee, can you give us idea? Kasi marami tayong mga kap na gusto rin mag-master's degree. Pero they don't have idea kung gaano kamahal, gaano kaganda, at anong school ang pwede mo ma-recommend. Siyempre, SMU tayo, di ba? Kasi doon tayo graduate. Pero can you give us idea or highlights or enlighten us about SMU as well? Thank you, Sam.
Okay, sorry, I might have to correct you right there, Joey. I graduated from Mount St. Vincent University.
Oh, sorry, Mount St. Vincent.
It's
See,
okay.
ako mismo di nalito. So Mount,
okay.
Sorry,
St. Vincent.
Mount St. Vincent.
St. Vincent University. Sa Halifax, yes.
Sa Halifax. I'm thinking
yes.
about the Bedford. So, sorry.
Oh, okay. So, well, no, Bedford. So here's the thing. I always recently a friend just messaged me as well because they want to take a course, but it's Ontario. So the word of caution, at least I could speak for Nova Scotia. There are, like in Halifax, there are 3 big universities. So Dalhousie University, St. Mary's University. That's where my siblings, my cousins go. And then Mount St. Vincent University. Those are the biggest here in the city. And then outside the city, there is St. FX, right? There's Acadia University. There's Cape Breton University. So the only important thing is if they want to immigrate through being a student, they have to make sure that the school, the university, or the college that they will be picking is actually accredited by the immigration center that they would credit their education, if that makes sense. Because it has to be those. It has to be a certain like curriculum. It has to be a certain school for them to qualify you. So you just can't choose any small private, like college right there. So for Nova Scotia, at least I know, I am aware. Ideally, it has to be NSCC. If it's not a university, it's a college. NSCC, their programs are accredited for immigration. So that's going to be good. The only setback that I see is that's why I'm forever thankful for my family. Is that an international student's tuition fee is 2.5 times more than a regular student. So what they could do is, for example, they could go to the website of Mount St. Vincent University and then see how much is a tuition for a Master of Arts in Education, right? So if it says all of the tuition, including the thesis or whatnot, is, for example, 10,000. So 2.5 of that, right? Or let's just say twice for easier computation. Twice is that is 20,000. So you have to have more than 20,000 Canadian dollars in your bank account under your name, not in anybody's name. It has to be under your name. So for example, for me, I can't really remember the tuition per se, but I needed to have 25,000 Canadian dollars in the bank account that is under my name, a Canadian bank account. And then, but that being said, there are scholarships and bursaries. So if my tuition fee was, for example, 10,000, I was able to get maybe 8,000 in bursary and scholarships combined. So those are 2 different things. Scholarships are through merits. It means high grades. And bursary is per need. So if you're an international student, they know that you need the money, and then they usually offer bursaries because your tuition fee is high. So there are bursaries and scholarships that could help you to lessen your tuition fee.
Ayun. So yun, gusto kong i-highlight yung na-mention natin. Gusto ko na i-correct mga kap yung sinabi ko. Hindi pala si Miss Alba sa Saint Mary. So totally different yung Saint Mary. Para kung sinabi na nag-graduate si Miss Alba sa Ateneo pero dapat Lasal, di ba? So, tama ba?
Yeah, tama.
So,
Lasal,
totally different siya.
Lasal.
So, Mount St. Vincent
University.
University graduate si Miss Alba, and gusto kong i-highlight yung tatlo na if you're thinking about taking a master's degree, a university dito sa Halifax, is tatlo, St. Mary, yung na-mention ko sa Bedford, and of course, Mount St. Vincent and Dalhousie. So ito yung mga kilalang university, hindi lang dito sa Nova Scotia, all throughout Canada, o Canada-wide. So, and at the same time, yung i-highlight ko rin yung na-mention Miss Alba regarding dun sa 2.5 or times 2 yung tuition fee as an international student. And yun, so yun yung mga highlights. So, thank you Miss Alba for sharing your journey and your story in terms of student and to maging stable dito sa Canada. And anything that you would give advice to everyone na nangangarap din na pumunta dito sa Canada, ano yung mga, sabihin na natin, learning curve mo while studying and up to nakakuha kayo ng permanent residency? Ano yung magiging tips ninyo?
There's a lot of paperwork. So you have to be patient. You have to, the CIC website is pretty laid forward. It's very basic and it's very easy to understand, but there's a lot of readings. And I would remember I was almost in tears talking to my mother and my aunt, like, how am I going to go do this? I don't know. You know how Filipinos back home apply for tourist visas in different countries. And then it's like too much work because you need to bank account, transfer of records, kung ano-ano man. So there's a lot of paperwork. You have to really be organized. It would help. So, and then I would highly recommend to seek advice to those who are in their field. So, or, groups like you guys who work with professionals like us in our field, and then you could connect them to the right person, right? Because the CIC website is very straightforward. However, if you have a complex situation, for example, it's not like it's too complex, but if you have family to bring, because remember I came here like single, it was just me, so it was more straightforward. But then obviously if you have children aging out, or what age could you take them, all of those things, then it might be good to seek professional help with an immigration lawyer or consultant that would help them too as well. So, and then the other thing, I guess it's not just for coming. Like when you're already here, the best thing, there are a lot of differences, of course, in the culture. So I always say that it's when in Rome, do what Romans do. However, we could do that with a fine balance of not losing our heritage and our culture.
That's right.
So we try to assimilate and we try to adjust the best that we can for what is normal here. But at the same time, we could preserve our heritage and culture. It's just like saying, of course, I learned how to hold the door for someone. When you're exiting the door in the Philippines, you just exit. In Canada, you open the door, and then even if the person is like, I don't know, 10 meters away, you're like holding the door, waiting for them to exit. You're laughing because right? So those those are the things that at some point you would learn how to adjust. Or before, when I first got here, they're like, hey Alva, how's it going? I'd be like, what? Why is he asking me how's it going? What does it means how are you, right? So, and sometimes you'd be like a stranger from the bus stop, hey, how's it going? And then you're like, right? So at first it would be like, that's weird, but then now you just are like, hey, it's going good, how about you, right? All right, have a great day, right? So especially in Halifax, they're very friendly.
That's
So
right.
sometimes they'd be like, so how was your, how's your summer going so far? And you'd be like a total stranger,
Ito yung
right?
ito yung Miss Albang na-experience kasi sa Pilipinas, naririnig ko na yung elevator speech for businesses. Pero dito sa Canada, parang elevator speech parang palagi. Sometimes you need to build connection, or sometimes you need to build casual conversation. Hey, how are you, buddy? How's your day? Something like that. So ito yung mga something talagang totally different. Kasi sa Pilipinas, parang ano kung tatanong to sa akin? Siguro may ibebenta to sa akin, di ba? Di ba sa Pilipinas? Pag may nag-ano na to, pag nagsabi na to, oh, kumusta ka pare? Ay, ano to, may ibebenta to sa akin. Pero dito sa fashion, dito sa Canada, it's a very good example kasi dito sa Canada, usual to eh. Ito yung common. So, yun yung mga kailangan natin i-adjust. And thank you for that kasi at least nabibigyan tayo ng idea. So dapat pala ganito tayo. And gusto ko i-highlight yung sinabi mo, Miss Alva. I think you need to blend. Na wag mong kakalimutan talaga yung kung saan ka galing din as a Filipino. And we are proud as a Filipino kasi as a Filipino, ano tayo madali tayong mag-adjust in terms of skills, in terms of communication. Meron tayong palaging edge eh. So doon yung nakaka-proud as a Filipino. Sabi nga natin, sa Pilipinas, ito yung level mo, pero pagdating sa Canada, talagang umaangat ka kasi meron tayong laban as a Filipino and proud to be Filipino, syempre.
Exactly.
So yun, ngayon Miss Alba, after sharing your inspiring story, ano yung pinaka-difficult part naman as a student? Kasi ito yung mga common na tanong, mahirap ba mag-aral sa Canada? In compare sa Pilipinas. Kasi alam natin mahirap sa Pilipinas mag-aral. Sa Canada ba, gaano siya kahirap in compare sa Pilipinas?
Like courses wise, because Filipinos are very smart, I feel like everybody would adapt easily, and especially every Filipino speaks English well. Right? I think it's more like, for me, it's a little bit more on being a little bit lay low instead of actually high strung, that you don't want to intimidate them. A lot of Filipinos are really good. We speak fast, we speak loud. So sometimes they feel like, and then we speak good English, they'd be like, why is your English good? I'm like, why is my English not good? Right? So there's really not much challenge when it comes to like the education per se. But for me, it's more of like what they say, the sarap hirap buhay abroad. So when I was a student, I was working 4 jobs. Not 1, not 2. I was working 4 jobs on campus. So during my time, we're not allowed to work outside of the campus. Like right now, that's like a new thing. You could work outside the campus. So that's a difference before. So, and because I didn't have a car, I figured if I would take the bus, it would take me an hour, or 20 minutes here and there to and from. It would be more challenging. So what I did was like, I applied for everything that I could apply for in university, 4 jobs. And then I would do my classes, I would do my thesis, I would do whatever. Usually master's classes are at night. So I have the luxury of working office hours. So I would remember it very vividly. My day starts at 8 in school. I'm not studying. I am, because I'm working. So I would leave home and take the maybe 7:40 bus, because I just live close to so Mount St. Vincent is in Bedford, and then I live in Clayton Park. So it's just like a really short bus ride. So I would pack all my food, and then my uncle would be like, "Did you get your food?" Opo. Dagdagan mo pa. Okay na po. Ito pa, dalhin mo pa. Di ba, usually here, bring it all. So I would pack my entire food for the whole day, because I would leave 7:40. I would be in school at 8 a.m. and I would be there until 9 p.m. I would remember I would take the 9:15 bus in front of the school to take me home. That is my routine. Not Monday to Friday, but Monday to Sunday. If I'm not working, I am studying, and it's all like right there. So I have my big backpack for my school stuff, and I'm like, all my food are right there. My food for the entire day. It's kind of like saying breakfast, lunch, supper, snacks. So that is the challenging part, because we have to make it through. We have to survive, or we have to thrive. So we're working 4 jobs, 3 jobs, 2 jobs, and studying. So
Wow.
the challenging part is striking a balance of
Yeah.
having time to study,
Yeah.
and at the same time having time to work, because we want to be able to at least, take care of our basic stuff, right? If,
Yeah.
like the stuff that I need to buy for myself, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go be asking for it for my family.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a challenging part, because we have to like work and study at the same time. So yeah. But school per se, Filipinos will make it through with
Ayun.
flying
So,
colors.
yan, it is very, tawag nito, nakaka-inspire kasi gusto ko ding i-inspire yung everyone and i-prepare, i-mindset na kapag nag-aral ka dito sa Canada, hindi typical na aral sa Pilipinas na sa atin kasi may karamihan na, hindi naman halos, pero yung tipong mga estudyante type sa Pilipinas na mag-aaral, uwi sa bahay, 'di ba? Siguro meron din mga part-time yung mga sinasabi self-supporting, pero hindi ganun lahat sa Pilipinas eh. Palaging scholar ni mama at ni papa, 'di ba? So yung tipong pagkagising sa umaga, papasok, aral, and then uwi sa bahay. So siguro, correct me if I'm wrong, I know may mga kap tayo na working student as well or self-supporting sila. Pero halos sa Pilipinas ganun eh. Scholar ni mama at ni papa. Pero from your story, gusto kong i-mindset kayo mga kap na once you are here, kailangan mo naka-ready ka physically, mentally, na kailangan mo talagang mag-double time. Kailangan mo magtrabaho. Like Miss Alba, 4 jobs, imagine. So, 4 na trabaho, tapos nag-aaral pa. Hindi lang basta aral, it's a master's degree. So, in terms of education, hindi yung basta-basta lang na, tawag nito, tapusin ko lang yung course, parang training na to, no? It's a master's degree. So, imagine a master's degree, 4 jobs, 7 days in this 5 days in a week, 7 days, so every day. So it's very inspiring. So mga kap, if you're watching right now and you're thinking about studying here in Canada, Nova Scotia man or other province, what I want you to do is mindset. Pag pupunta ko ng Canada, I'm ready physically kasi kailangan magtrabaho and mentally. So I think that's one of the advantage with Miss Alba is I feel the energy while you're explaining and sharing your story. I feel your energy na parang hindi ka nahihirapan but then kayang-kaya because of the energy. So from the chat or from the Zoom meeting, nagta-transcend sa akin yung energy mo, Miss Alba.
I think it's
the energy.
I think the nice thing is, I think in life they have to know their why. Why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
So why are you doing this? So for me, like, I was single then, but then I wanted to like buy things for my parents. I wanted to buy more clothes for my brother and my father. I always shopped for them when I was in the Philippines, right? And then I want to establish my life right here. So you need to have a why, and then that is going to be your driving force. The nice thing about here too is the libraries here, the university libraries are good. That's where I took my nap. I didn't go home, because if I go home, it would still be like 10 minutes there, 10 minutes back, right? So I was just like, so I would sit myself in a quiet spot, like, right? And then on the couch, and then like try to take a short nap right there, and then I'm energized, because like what I've said, it's a Monday to Sunday, 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. kind of like gig, right? So on the weekends there's no school, but then I did housekeeping jobs in like the university. They have the residences. So during the summer, that's kind of like my other part-time job, like in university, that I would clean the residences. So it's a very physical job. It was tiring, right? So napapadami rin ang kain. Like, more rice please. Right? So ganon. But you have to you have to ask yourself what is your why, and then that would help you like push further. It's very, I'm not gonna lie, it's very tiring. It's very exhausting, but it's all worth it. At the end of the day, you get your degree, diploma, and then you have money saved up, so I met with my family in the US. I paid for their trips, kind of idea then. So it's very rewarding, right? So it doesn't matter what I did. Fast food, nannying, cleaning, I had the money. I was able to walang hmm? Master's student tapos maglilinis. Walang ganon dito. Everything is,
True.
everything is, every job is as long as it's legal, there's nothing embarrassing about it. That's
right.
also what I want to highlight. And like every Monday to Friday, I work in an office, in a registrar's office, president's office, and then weekends I do my, my my housekeeping job. So it doesn't matter. It's a job. It earned me my money. And then, at the end of the day, it is my why. Why am I doing this? Right? So, so talagang sikap at tiyaga. Which I do not have any concerns. All Filipinos, we're very industrious, right? Masisipag tayo. Like that's why Canadian business owners love Filipinos, because we work so hard, and our efficiency too is like really high. So for what other workers could do in 1 hour, we could do it in maybe 30 minutes, 45 minutes, or even 20 minutes efficiently, without errors, right? So because like what you said, the energy at saka maliksi ang mga Pilipino.
Maliksi, maliksi. Kaya nga. Saka yun, sabi na, ito gusto ko i-highlight yung why. Bakit ka mag-aaral? Bakit mo ginagawa to? Bakit ka magsisipag? And I think that's a very good one to highlight, mga kapatid. If you're watching right now, what is your why? Bakit ka pupunta sa Canada? Bakit ka mag-i-immigrate? Bakit dadalhin mo family mo? Bakit ka mag-aaral? So, it's a very good question, Miss Alva. So, thank you, Miss Alva. And let's jump kasi marami dito sa ating mga they're looking for jobs. They're looking for designated employer for AIPP. They're looking for caregivers. Naghahanap silang trabaho sa mga as a work permit. Based from you, Miss Alva, can you tell us about your work mo now regarding Nova Scotia Works or job? Wala siyang job junction, they changed the name.
No, it's it's Nova. We're under the umbrella of Nova Scotia Works, and then there are several centers, and then we are one of the centers. So you're correct. You're correct. Nova Scotia Works.
So can you tell us about the Nova Scotia Works first, so that they will have an idea kung ano yung Nova Scotia Works, and at the same time, can you give us also tips and tricks in terms of Canadian format? Kasi there's a lot of confusion. Ano ba yung Canadian format? I already invited some guests natin dito sa KAPehan na they didn't follow the Canadian format, pero nakahanap sila ng employers. Meron naman tayong mga kap naman na naging guest, they follow the Canadian format at maswerte nakahanap sila ng employer. So, can you give us some tips and tricks also with the Canadian format so that they will have an idea ito yung tamang gawin based from a professional like you?
Okay, so I work for Nova Scotia Works. It's an employment center that is government funded. So that's the very critical component that I would like to explain. The reason why I say that, the reason why we need a person to have an SIN, like social insurance number, is because we are funded by the government. So your taxes, Joey, my taxes, everybody's taxes is the one that pays for this service. So people of Nova Scotia get it for free. So that's the important thing. That's the reason why I cannot, of course I could help them, but I cannot get them into our center if they're not yet here in Canada, because Nova Scotia Work Center is for Nova Scotians, for Canadians who are already here. Okay, so I'll explain that further, and then I'll explain later how I could help them even if they're not here yet. So Nova Scotia Work Centers, I believe there are different centers all over Nova Scotia. And one of the centers is us, Job Junction. We are privately owned. So there's a big difference, employment center versus an employment agency. An employment agency works for the employer to find candidates. An employment center like us work for the candidate to find them an employer or to help them find a job. But the big thing is we are here to help you. However, we do not do the job search for you. It's like saying we are here to teach you how to fish and not to fish for you. Right? So as a job developer, I explained that my role, I am your Google Maps, but then you are the driver of your job search journey. Right? So I am here to guide you, to help you navigate, but you are the one in charge. Right? So your success depends on the effort that you put in. So with that being said, so we are an employment center. We have a resource center that people could come in. This is pre-COVID, although right now we're open, but I could explain that later. Pre-COVID, the situation is like people could walk in, they could use the computer, they could print their resume, they could fax, they could photocopy for free. Anything job search related, they could use our computers, and then it's right there. There are also what you call the case managed services, right? So that is with a case manager or with me as a job developer. So that's the one-on-one. Usually with my Filipino candidates, I highly recommend that the case management because it's a one-on-one support. It's for free. Why don't you take it? Right? So it's an example, you just came right here, you have your SIN, you're a landed immigrant, and then you're like, okay, well, what do I do now? So why won't you avail of that free one-on-one service so it's actually tailored to you? Right? Because you could just like really look and search and Google how you will do your resume and whatnot. But if you have that person, right, and then if you have me as well to connect you with employers to job match you, then why not? It's all for free, right? Filipinos love free. So that's the thing. And then we also have pre-COVID workshops that are ongoing. If I may explain, when the first time I arrived here in 2008, I actually went to their name then was People Plus. It's not Job Junction. Right now, that's still the corporation name behind it, but People Plus. And I went there with my cousin. We attended the workshops to figure out how to write a resume the Canadian way. Because, me and my cousin both graduated from De La Salle, and then we did have that, like advantage of having a career center that taught us how to do our resumes, but it was still different. So we attended the workshops, right? That was my very first encounter with this company. It's very nostalgic. It's very nice. And then, after at some point I got a job, got laid off, and then, I was job hunting again. And they were there again. So those workshops, we have resume workshops, like cover letter workshops, interview workshops. Those are all free that people will learn from, right? So again, why not grab it? And right now, during this pandemic, we have moved mostly webinars. So webinars are usually done every 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. And then it's available on our website. They could choose anything from there. Like right now, because it's webinars, we have expanded from how to negotiate your salary, like your references, why is it needed, right? I remember you were wanting me to discuss what are the basics that is needed. So a lot of our services, it's nice if you could avail more of it, so you'll be really job ready. But the very basic is to have a good cover letter, to have a good resume, and to have a solid list of your references. So that's the big thing.
Gusto ko lang i-highlight, if ever you're coming here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, mga Kap, I think the first thing that you need to do is to get your SIN or the SIN number. Then once you have the SIN number, get connected with Miss Alva or get connected with the Nova Scotia Works. Kasi malaking tulong to eh. I-prepare ikaw as sarili mo paano maghanap and paano gumawa ng resume. Sabi nga, tuturuan ka yung skills. Hindi lang, eto magtrabaho ka dito. No, tuturuan ka ng skills. Kasi yung skills na to, lifetime na to eh. Habang buhay mo dala-dala, mawalan ka ng trabaho, eto na naman, marunong ka na eh. Kasi tinuruan ka ng Nova Scotia Works or the Job Junction. So mga Kap, if you're coming here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, get a SIN number. That's the first thing. Get a SIN number. Then once you have the SIN number, go to Miss Alva, get connected with Miss Alva, and they will help you. They will teach you. They will develop your skills on how to find works. So in terms of how to find works, Miss Alva, I think we start with the resume. Can you give us some tips on how to write a resume? Ano yung kailangan nilang tatandaan in terms of Canadian resume?
So the most important thing is, and thank you for highlighting about the SIN. I would just like to reiterate that when you first get your SIN, you're told not to give it out to anyone. Of course, you're not supposed to give it out to anyone. However, we explain that because we are government funded, that's how the government tracks our service. If we can't track it that way, the government won't give us funds. There would be no service. So that's the only important thing. So usually I explain that to Filipinos and they don't mind, but I would like to say that obviously your SIN is safe with us because we are government funded. It's like we are not the government, but we are government funded, so that's why we need it. So anyway, so for the resume, the very important thing is, other than the format, which I guess I could share like later with everybody, or I will post it usually in like a Filipino group about the tips and tricks for resumes and cover letter. So the important thing for a resume is you actually have to tailor it to the job posting that you see. So you of course the basics are there: your education, your skills, the highlight of your skills, your experiences. It, it's there, that's a given. However, you do not submit one resume to 10 different companies all the same. So sometimes that's why people are not getting called, because like especially right now there's the applicant tracking system that they use. So the keywords that they wrote in their job posting, they must see it in your resume. If they don't see it, then the computer will pick up your resume. It won't go to the pile to consider. So that's the big thing. At the end of the day, it's still a person who reads it. However, if it's a very big company, you have to realize that they rely on those automated system to pick 10 out of 100 resumes. Right? So, and then how do you do that? So basically you just look at your job ad, and then you look at your resume, and then just use the words that they say. For example, if they say must be able to work well under pressure, right? Or the way you wrote it in your resume is could manage stress very well. At the end of the day, it's the same. But instead of sticking with can manage stress very well, if they wrote in their job ad must be able to work under pressure, you have to switch your sentence to able to work under pressure, right? Because then your resume will have more words that are similar to the job posting. Then your resume will be picked up by the computer faster.
Ayun.
Yeah, that's the one for the resume. That's a very big thing. And in the Philippines, we use photos. I understand even at De La Salle University almost 20 years ago, that was how we were taught. Like put your nice 2x2 photo right there. Yeah. So, and I know some European countries, I believe, do that too, but we don't do it here in Canada because remember, Canada is very inclusive. They do not want anything that would put bias. They'd be like, oh, right? So that's one of the things. And we also do not put passport numbers. We also do not put birthdays right here because they also want to avoid ageism. It's like, oh, kakagraduate mo lang, you're only 22. So it means, you don't know much, right? So they want to avoid it, and it doesn't always go that way. It doesn't mean that if you're young you don't know much, right? So like they want to equal the playing field right here. Like employers here are equal opportunity employers. That's what they say. And even then they encourage you to self-identify if you do have barriers. That's what we call, if you do have physical barriers, if you have mental barriers, if you belong to the minority, which is like us, we're considered a minority. So there are employers that would that would say you could self-identify, and then you could self-identify in that sense.
Ayun. So gusto ko i-highlight yun kasi nagawa ko yung video regarding sa software, and based from you, parang may keywords na kailangan tayong i-highlight. So parang keywordings, parang sa social media din, di ba? So ayun mga kap, i-highlight ko yung keywording. So kailangan talagang mag-follow ka ng resume, Canadian format resume, kasi merong mga big company na talagang software yung ginagamit for the initial. Kasi imagine, sabi ko nga, Miss Alva dun sa video is, imagine, thousands of resume per day. Yung big company, thousands of resume. Anong gagawin nila? Isa-isahin yun? Hindi. there will be a software para ma-filter out yung sino yung initial or maybe top 100, top 10. And then yung top 10, saka yung manually titingnan ng mga HR person. But again, kung hindi ka nakapasok dun sa software, wala kang chance. So I think this is a very good to highlight na please follow yung Canadian format and at the same time yung na-mention ni Miss Alba na tip regarding sa keywords. And at the same time, no photos. Ayan, baka may 2x2 photos ka pa nakasmile, di ba? So no photos mga kap. And hindi kailangan maglagay ng birthday, pero okay lang maglagay ng edad. No, so no age, no birthday, and no passport. So yun.
So I would like to highlight too that the advantage of seeing us at Job Juncture or in a Nova Scotia Work Center. So this is how it works, right? So for example, in a very big company, they get 100 resumes. For example, they got a total of 100 resumes for a certain position, right? So they will trim it down to let the computer pick 50. So that's still a lot. So 50, they will print it or what have you. They will pile it like that. So because with us, we have connections with employers, the advantage is, and then when I work with my candidates, I make them, they fill up a log where they have applied, and then they write the company there, and then, they write the company when they have applied, what's the position. So if I see that, and then I say, oh, you applied for company ABC. Well, I do have someone that I'm connected with at company ABC. Forward to me what you submitted online, because that's a requirement. They still have to do that. And then I will forward it to them. So the chances are, out of the pile of 50, because I messaged them, they would pull up yours and then put it up top.
Wow.
So there is that help that we provide. It's not always a guarantee, because we've had experience that we forwarded something, but then the candidate was still not called, probably because it's a different skill set, and that's okay, right? Yeah. So however, if you're really a shoe-in for a job, and then we're right here to push it, and then you have seen us, it means you have been trained, right? So you went through our interview process. You've been Canadianized in your self-marketing when it comes to your job. Then chances are higher that you will be hired.
That's right. Ayun, that's why mga kap, if you're coming here, wag mong kakalimutan to get connected with Miss Alba and the Nova Scotia Works or sa Job Juncture. Kasi it's very important. Imagine na filter out ka na. We're not guaranteed, sabi nga ni Miss Alba, it's not a guarantee. However, at least there's a chance. Because at the end of the day, si employer pa yung magde-decide eh. Pero at least mayroon kang edge. So yan, if you're coming here, please get connected with Miss Alba on Nova Scotia Works. Miss Alba, with regards to get connected, saan ka ba pwedeng makita at ma-follow or madaling ma-contact if ever they want to connect with you? And I think, Miss Alba, you're catering only mga nandito na sa Nova Scotia, right? Okay. So if they're already here sa Nova Scotia, sa Halifax, Nova Scotia, saan ka nila pwedeng ma-contact or ma-reach out?
So if you check our website, it's Job Junction. I have to check it. It's www.jobjunction.ca. So you will see our let me go check. Sorry, jobjunction.ca, and then our our directories right there. You would see me. However, being Filipino, you could just ask around or ask Nova Scotia Works.
Or ask me.
Like the groups, or ask Joey.
That's right.
That is here's the thing. Sorry, I want to explain. I cannot see a candidate unless they are case managed. So I am the extra help. I'm kind of like more in the back room. So I don't want to make it sound like I'm a unicorn or of some sort, but you have to, your resume and your cover letter could be checked or could be looked at anytime. However, if you want to see me, you would do an intake with a case manager, and then you could request from the case manager that you want to see a job developer. However, I could explain to you the process. You could contact me at alva.bourque, so that's alva.bourque at jobjunction.ca. So it will be in our website as well. Or you generally, if you lose you don't know where to ask, you could just go on our website and then ask them, or ask Joey right? Or ask any Filipino, like,
Kilala.
or ask the group, or
Yeah.
there are a lot of Filipino groups that help newcomers as well. So you could just ask, and then they will give you my work email, or like sometimes people send me a private message in Facebook, and then I direct them to my work email, because officially this is what I do. So I have to put it on the official channel, and then I could answer all your questions like that. So like what I've said, do not lose hope. Do not be scared. We are right here. I am right here. As long as you're right here with a valid SIN, I will be right here for you to help you. And
Right.
even then, if you're not like, I guess I just want to cover that. If you're not yet here in Halifax, the most that you could do is remember my story about when I first got hired. I already prepared all my documents. So by the time that I am officially able to apply, it's ready. So that's what you could do. I could send to Joey, or I could put in like a Filipino group the basic, the handout for a resume and cover letter, and you could read it and take a look at it. Again, that is the Nova Scotia standard. It might be different in Ontario, it might be different in Alberta, but in Nova Scotia, that is our industry standard. So I could share that, and then you could look at the format, because at the end of the day, you could Google it, but it may be like, a little bit different, and it doesn't have to be rigid super the same, but the basic things need to be there, and then it would be in the handouts. That one I could share, and then you could already start doing up your resume. Even for those who are already here who don't have the SIN yet, I already give it to them, so by the time that they're ready, it's
Alam
already almost good to go. Like, the instead of our staff spending 1 hour to like say, oh, you have to change this, or this one you have to move right here, or the format, the margin, instead of spending those, na ayos nyo na
Ayun.
before you come see us, which is gonna be very efficient, and it's gonna
At
be like
least
great.
naka-prepare ka na ahead of time.
Yes,
Kasi
exactly.
dito,
You did
ang,
it for
ang,
you.
ang labanan kasi dito is readiness. Gaano
Yes,
ka
correct.
kahanda. Diba? So I
Correct.
think that PDF file, I think it will be a big help to all Canadian dreamers natin nandito sa community natin. I'll be glad to share it to all our
Yes.
community.
Yes, I could send it to you.
Thank you very much. In terms of, kasi napag-usapan na natin yung best tip on writing a resume and cover letter. Let's jump on interview. Let's assume eto na, nagsabi na tayo ng resume, and maswerte tayo na nabigyan ng pagkakataon magkaroon ng online interview. And I already advised some of our CAP na dapat mga CAP, as early as now, you are knowledgeable how to use Zoom. You are knowledgeable how to use Skype. You are knowledgeable how to use a Viber. So these are the tips na gusto kong, or I already created a video. But aside from learning the software on how to do Zoom, Skype, Viber, ano pa, Miss Albang, ma-add on mo in terms of online interview, job interview?
I guess the big thing is, if you've already covered about the technology, that they need to know how to use technology. They need to have proper lighting, like a decent background, right? Those are the basics, right? But I guess the big thing is, for Filipinos, there are things that is very normal for us, but it's not necessary right here. For example, I would practice with one person. If I say, so Joey, tell me about yourself, right? So sometimes on a Filipino thinking, let's say for me, if you ask me, I'd be like, my name is Alva Bourque. I am married for 6 years and with 2 wonderful children. No, they do not need to know anything personal, and you'd rather keep it to yourself. But as a Filipino, that's one of the first things that, like, hey, like this. Oh, I'm from Manila. I'm from Batangas. I'm from Cebu. And that's usual, right? That's usual. But here, actually, it's an illegal question if they ask you, do you have children? So I guess that what I want to highlight here, like, really, there's a lot of things that I could teach them how to like do an interview, but no, they could Google Canadian illegal interview questions, and they should know that they are not entitled, they are not required to answer it. And then there are ways to answer it. Just like, I guess I'll just give it for an example. Like for me, my personal illegal question that I am very, very afraid of if they would ask me is, do you have children? because I do have two wonderful children,
Mhm.
and my husband works from away.
Mhm.
So obviously, people will feel like, oh my gosh, then she will always be calling in sick. Her children will always be sick. She won't be
Mhm.
here at work. She would
Mhm.
be like
Mhm.
always going to be absent and
Mhm.
whatnot. So that's what we're trying to avoid. That's why it's an illegal question. However, when I was a client myself, I told them, you got to go practice me here, because at some point, it will just be blurted out. Like, so Alva, do you have children? So when they practice me, I would remember it well. They would like, so Alva, do you have children? So if it's an illegal question, the best way to answer it first is, may you please let me know how that question relates to the job that I'll be doing.
Wow.
Right? So
Mhm. Ganda, ganda.
obviously that's like the correct answer. However, sometimes they would push. So they
Mhm.
practice me are like, well, you know what, Alva, sometimes we need you to spend overtime, maybe a little after 5 o'clock. And then sometimes there's gonna be Saturday and Sundays. So that's just why we need to know. Then obviously one of the things that I've learned at Job Junction when I was a client is the way to answer it for me was, I do have children. They are 6 and 1. However, they are in a very, very reliable childcare setting that is always there. They never close. And I am very lucky that I have both sides of my family, my own family, and my in laws who are always right here, excited to take care of my children.
Wow.
So that's not going to be any of a concern if you need me to stay after 5 or work Saturday, Sundays.
Wow.
So that's how they would like how to answer it, right?
Oh.
However, know that that's an illegal question, so you could
Mhm.
veer away. However, again, I tell my Filipino candidates, if you're aware, even asking about where are you from, that's
Mhm.
illegal too,
Mhm.
right? Because if they see that your physical features, you're obviously not white, so they'd be like, where are you from? That's also an illegal question.
Mhm.
However, I tell my candidates, if it's a question that you are comfortable answering and it's not going to affect your job, don't go be, well, can you please tell me how that relates to the job that I'll be doing? Right? Because
Yeah.
duh, right? So just answer it. If you're, like, I'm originally from the Philippines.
Mhm.
So there you go. That's it. Or if they ask me, how old are you, Alva? I say,
Mhm.
oh, I'm 40. Or you're like, if you're not, if you're comfortable to answer it and it's not gonna affect your job, then just go for it.
That's
Right?
right.
However, you have to know that there are illegal questions that you're not required to answer. So that's the big thing. And then obviously just like little things here and there on how to answer interview questions. Example, most of it are like behavioral questions. So I always highlight SAR, situation, action, result. So, and then always summarize your answer, always organize your answer. That's a big thing,
Mhm.
right? So you don't want to fumble, and you actually should avoid what I'm doing right here with all the hand gestures.
Mhm.
I'm a teacher. I used to be a teacher, so like for me, I try to be cognizant of like, right, so like that. So I teach those things as well. Like, okay, so because pre-pandemic, when you go to my office, we have a video recorder, and then I record that so you could watch yourself
I
after it,
see. Yeah.
right? And then there's a mirror in front of my office as well that you stand up right there. I ask you a question and then you see how you look, right? And there are also some questions that, if a person was laid off, obviously this is coming also from a personal experience. So my boss, our executive director right now, when I first came in at Job Junction, I was like, well, it's nice to see you guys. And then he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry," because they know that I got laid off again. That's why I was right there,
Yeah.
right? And then at some point he said, you know what, Alva, let's just try to attend the workshops. Let's try to attend the interview workshop again. No, it's like, why? Interview's my game. I don't need to practice. And he goes, okay, Alva, let's go practice. And then he asked me questions and then I answered it. I was so proud of myself. I was just like doing that. And he goes,
Yeah.
so Alva, why did you leave your last job? And then I went,
Oops.
because in my Filipino thinking, hindi, there's no layoffs in the Philippines. I would remember my big company before, if they would have to schedule, like vacation days for each department, they would do it just to save everybody and not to lay off people. So when I got laid off, I was like, oh my goodness, what did I do wrong? Did I, is it because, did I take home a pen and they consider that stealing? Like like everything was racing. I'm like, was I late the other day, or what did I do? Right? But it's just because that's restructuring. That's how it is right here. You're good as your last project. If they need to let you go because they have to trim it down, they will let you go. So I was just like, I was almost in tears because I wasn't over my grief yet. So that's why, a lot of Filipinos are very good in interviews, but there are some things that we really need to practice. That's why I highlight saying like attend our workshops or come see us and come see me.
Yung tinatawag na shotgun question.
Right? Exactly. Like I was really like, because I can't so then he said like, yep, go to the workshop. And then so that's also one of the things I requested them. So I would be able to answer like, the last company I was with underwent restructuring and my jobs was one of the first that they had to eliminate. So straight face, straight to the point, no like crying in tears. So like, yeah.
Yep. Another thing na very interesting, Miss Aba, dun sa East Coast Filipino, shout out to East Coast Filipino Portal, regarding sa salary. And siyempre, nasabi na natin, natapos man ng interview, eto na, nandito na si employer, parang closing na, tinanong ka, do you have question, Miss Alva? So ano yung pwede mong itanong? And I think, I still remember na pwede ka pala magtanong ng salary, magkano yung salary na ibibigay mo sa akin? Paano ba ang pinaka-best way itanong yun, Miss Alva?
Actually, I would, if I may correct you in that aspect.
Sorry.
It's okay. We actually, when you are asked, these are one of the things I know you wanted me to, what not to do in an interview. You are not to ask about the salary. You are not to ask about the benefits. We have a workshop for salary negotiation. You only do that once you get the job offer.
Ayun.
If there are questions that say, do you have any questions for us? You don't even ask like, so when are you going to go make a decision?
Okay.
But there is a good way to ask that. You don't go, when are you going to tell me if I made it or not? The best way to ask that, if you really must ask it, is, may you please let me know where are you in the hiring process? So it means, nasa na ba sila? Nagtatawag ba sila ngayon? Next week ba is magpa-finalize sila? So mag-i-explain yung HR. So right now, we are interviewing candidates the rest of the week. And then next week, we will start calling the successful ones. And then the week after that, we will offer jobs. So it will come from them if you say it that way. However, if you could avoid that, you have to focus on asking questions that pertains to the company or pertains to the role. What I always try to advise is ask about, may you please tell me the characteristics of a successful employee in this role?
I see.
Right? Because that way, for them, they would be like, oh, look, he or she wants to be successful in this role. Tinatanong na niya kaagad kung ano yung characteristics ng successful employee. Right? So those are one of the things that you could ask that's going to be like, like a nice question for them, powerful question for them. Or you could ask them about their company, or you could ask them, how do you like working in this company, right? But we like, those are the other things that if you just want conversations, but we have to focus on what do you call this, on the job per se. And then if you are asked, because they would ask you at some point, so what salary expectation do you have for this job, right? So the very basic that I say, always start with, according to my labor market research, aka according to your Google research, right? But it's a nice way, according to my labor market research, an office assistant, an admin assistant is paid somewhere in between 35,000 to 45,000. Always give a range, and always give a bigger range so they know they have a big range to work with. Because what's going to be the problem is if you say, oh, I want to get, for example, pinili mo yung sa gitna ng 35 to 45, I want to get like 38, right? So the next candidate that they interviewed after you is as good as you, or even a little bit not as good as you, but they said a range. or they said 35. So do you think they would still hire you even if you're like
30.
so
So
they
it's
would
a
hire
very
for
good.
someone cheaper, right?
That's right.
So
Yeah.
that's why you always give a range and you always say, however, I am very flexible and I know we could talk about the details when that time comes. So that's the key. That's the key. Always say that you are flexible, because indeed you are flexible. It could be a little bit less on the remuneration per se, but then you could negotiate, and then you could attend our webinar for that one, so you would learn how to negotiate. But you could negotiate, well, how many days off do you give? 10. So maybe you could give me 15 days off if that's okay, right? So however, this all happens in the salary negotiation after they give you the job offer, because during the interview, from your resume to your interview to your final interview, you want to impress them. You want them to make you the job offer.
Right.
If you start saying your conditions, well, do you have dental benefits? Because I need, well, I have children. My children need medicine. So it's right. Or I'm on a certain medication. So like, what do you have? Do you have massage?
So para masabi to simple, daming demand nito
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Pero gusto kong i-highlight, Miss Alba, yung na-mention mo na during the initial interview, kapag tinanong ka na do you have any question, the best to ask is ano yung characteristic na hinahire mo. I think that's a good highlight. Instead na magtanong ka ng salary, or instead na magtanong ka ng benefit, the best or the right time to ask salary and benefit kapag ikaw ay nasa inofera na. So ayun, yun yung pinaka i-correct natin yun. Napakaganda, Miss Alba. This is a very good tip. Kasi as a Filipino, pag tinanong ka, ano yung offering mo? Ano yung salary mo? Di ba? Ganun yung usually, based on our experience, so at least you have an idea, ito yung dapat mong gawin, ito yung dapat mong itanong in a right time nga. And at the same time, before ka pumunta sa mga interview, alamin mo na din yung range ng salary. So if you're applying for, let's say, for a continuing care assistant or CCA or admin assistant, Google it. Ano yung average salary ng CCA sa Nova Scotia? So at least you have idea, ito yung salary ng CCA, 17 to $18 per hour an average. At least you have an idea. Or ito yung salary, 30 to 40,000 a year. So at least you have an idea. So napakagandang tip yun, Miss Alba. I think lahat na nanonood ngayon ay nakakuha sila ng mga tips na I think because of the tips makakapunta sila dito at makahanap ng employer.
And actually, if they want to push it further, this is my personal experience when I was interviewed for the job before my job here at Nova Scotia Works Job Junction. They said, so what is your salary expectation, Alva? So I said, according to my labor market research, this position of XXX federally is paid on the range of like this and like this. Provincially, it is paid on this range. So I was just like, and she was very impressed because I was like, and I said, I'm actually surprised that the provincial average is a little bit higher than the federal average. So she was like, well, you're actually on the ball, Alva. Like you got it right. So she was very, like what I've said, if you want to push it further, you could say federal, this is the salary, provincial, this is the salary, because that demonstrates that you really know the labor market, which you should. You should.
And at the same time, nakikita that you research talaga.
Exactly. And that's the nice thing too. Like one of the things before you go for an interview, please research the company. And then if there are recent news about them, that's what you could do a topic of conversation. I know in one of my interviews they said, do you have any questions for us? And I was like, I recently read in the news that you guys won the contract for New Brunswick, yada yada yada. And they will go, yeah. And then they talked about it, and right. So it means that you are already interested. You already want to work for that company, right? And sorry, before I forget, it's very important. I do not have any problems with Filipinos because magaling tayo magtanaw ng utang na loob. Please do not forget the thank you email. And I personally do a thank you card. Go to the dollar store, buy those little cards, and then write a personal note, and then the next day drop it off or mail it, what have you. But the very first thing, if you have their email them thank you for their time, and then you could send your personal thank you note, because Filipinos are very grateful. However, pag nandito na tayo, masyado nang busy, sometimes we forget to say thank you. And then employers really appreciate that. Employers actually even put it in their offices to like, oh, I got a thank you note.
Wow.
And then I did get personal feedback too about they appreciated like a
Wow.
small thank you card. So that's
a very good tip, Miss Alba, kasi hindi natin to ginagawa as normal sa Pilipinas. And I think that's a very good one. Thank you note, di ba? And actually, thank you note is one way also to remind the employer, hi, parang,
exactly,
hi, ako po
exactly.
yung in-interview nyo, di ba? Parang ngayon, above of, sabi natin 50 applicants, eh ikaw yung nag-highlight kasi, ay, eto, kilala ko to si Alva kasi binigyan ako nito ng thank you letter. Eto yun, no, nakalagay sa board ko. So, you have an advantage. I think it's a good strategy as well. And I think mga kap, this is also one way. Please take it note na ito yung mga magandang strategy dito as well. And kung hindi kaya ng thank you note, thank you email. Para at least na hindi ka makalimutan. So, Miss Alba, we have some questions po dito sa ating YouTube channel from Joel Lindio. Kap, Joey, ask ko lang po about sa resume. Ano po yung much better na ipasa? PDF or Word file? Salamat po.
Okay, so even in our own center, each one of us have our different opinions. You could imagine all the experts have different opinions. However, for me personally, PDF is the best because here's the thing. So if I was the HR, like one of our case managers was sending a referral for me to see a job developer. And this case manager does, she checks the resume really good. She's, sends to me a Word document, right? And I hit print because I need to print it and read it. And, just like what an employer would do. Mm-hmm. From that case manager to me, it was one page. But when I kept printing it, the 2 lines kept on going to the next page. And it took me and then I was trying to rearrange it. I tried to do it. At the end of the day, I was just like, oh my goodness, I'm just going to go deal with this later. So I was just like, so that's what happens if you submit a Word document. But if it's PDF on your phone, on a Mac, on a PC, on an Android, on a Chrome, iOS, it would preserve the formatting. Because you don't know if the employer has a new Microsoft Word or an old one, and then the fonts that you use did not translate well and it became garbled or like smiley faces, right? So that's the challenging part. So I personally, different career practitioners might feel the same. Some are Word, some are PDF, but I personally suggest PDF because that way nobody will be able to change it. Too, right? Nobody would be able to say, oh, but it doesn't happen here anyways. Walang pandodoktor or anything. There's nothing that here. But then just for my personal example, I kind of gave up after a few. I'm just like, you know what? I'm going to go look at it. I'm going to go do something else because it frustrated me. I tried my own printer. I tried the case manager printer. I tried the printer outside the office. It was just but it kept on giving me 2 pages, and then the 2 pages was references available upon request and something else. And I'm like, so PDF is the one that I would recommend.
We have another question from Rona Ramos. May I ask if there a service is available for someone who's not in Nova Scotia but staying in another province? Let's say he wants to move to Nova Scotia but wants to make sure job is available before moving siguro ng Nova Scotia. Pwede ba yun?
That's very interesting because we had our staff meeting yesterday and it was actually mentioned something about that. So remember the key here is as long as you have a valid SIN, we could help you. Wow. And then, but obviously, let's just be honest. If you're in Alberta and you want to stay in Alberta, then there's a corresponding Alberta works, right? There's a corresponding employment center in Alberta. Then you could seek their help. But if you really are coming to Nova Scotia, and we've had that candidates, you could say, well, I am coming. This is my, this is the date that I'm going to be right there. We could help you because, again, as long as you have the very key word is a valid SIN, then we could help you. Because especially right now, during this pandemic, we have moved to virtual a lot, virtual phone, so it's easier for us to reach out to more clients because pre-pandemic, our location of our office is in Mumford. It's right in the heart of Halifax, for those who don't know. So if you're from Cape Breton, there's another Nova Scotia works in Cape Breton, then you could see them because you have to come in person, sign the forms and whatnot. But because we have evolved, right now, even for me, my agreement with my candidates is already done through email. So we could already assist someone from Cape Breton if they want us specifically because they want to see me, or they're Filipino. I really want to work with Alva. I don't want to work with the others. It's just that's preference, and it's okay. Again, the key is valid SIN.
Valid SIN number. So ayun, Rana Ramos. So if you're thinking moving here in Nova Scotia and gusto mo ng advanced help while you are still in other province, you can. Basta may valid SIN number kayo. Speaking of SIN number, meron po ditong nagtatanong. Question for Miss Alba, si Ros Torres. Ros Torres is on our live chat. Ross, please.
Yes, here. Yes, I'm audible. Yeah, Miss Alba, regarding this SIN, me and my wife is planning to come to Nova Scotia for international student maybe next year, probably. What is the processing time for applying SIN?
Okay, so officially, I cannot give the official answer for the processing time because that is a Service Canada question. However, I guess because of the pandemic, it's taking a little bit longer, but everybody is back on like everybody's trying to be back to normal, like especially coming on September. So it really depends on how much workload did they have. But I think I am seeing recently, I think when a candidate gets in touch with me saying it's in process, I think it's like 2 weeks. Right. So, but don't quote me on that. It could change, and I'm not the official person to answer that. However, it shouldn't be long. It shouldn't be long because Canada knows that you need your SIN for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Right?
Ross, I just want to share something about the SIN number based from my experience, and I think especially also experience sa Canada service pre-pandemic, wala pang pandemic, 2016. Pagpasok ko, siguro 10 minutes dun sa counter. Paglabas ko meron akong SIN number. Napakabilis. Kasi they will just ask some documents and passport. Actually they will ask from information, passport, and then COPR. And then once na-fill up nila sa computer, piprintan ka ng papel. That's it. Siguro 10 to 15 minutes. However, ngayong pandemic, may delay pero I think mabilis pa rin compare hindi siguro abutin ng 1 day. Tanong natin si Harold kasi si Harold kakarating lang. I'll make a post about it, Ross, with regards to the timeline ng pagkuha ng SIN number. Kasi mga bago tayong dating and there's a delay pero hindi naman ganun katagal talaga.
Joey, can I have one more question if you don't mind?
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Yes, we're planning to go for international student. My spouse will be the student and I will be an open work visa working with AJOC International. So SIN is required for me upon arrival?
As far as I know, both you and your wife will be given SIN, especially if they would give you an open work permit. They won't give you an open work permit without tying it to SIN because that's how you pay your taxes. So you will be given SIN as far as I know, but then you could double check that with the immigration office or whoever you're working with, your immigration consultant. But that's the thing. Like even me, as I was a student, I do have an SIN. But even then, I'm just only allowed to work inside campus, but I do have an SIN. And just to note, there is, for temporary workers, your SIN starts with number 9. And the permanent SIN for permanent residents starts with a different number. So they know which one is permanent and which one is not. So, but it doesn't matter as long as you have an SIN, we will be able to service you and you'll be able to work.
Speaking of that, Miss Alba, I experience kasi dito hindi ka tinatanong, nang apply na ako, hindi ako tinanong kung ako ay permanent or student. Kasi yung palang SIN number nila, from my SIN number, alam na nila kung ako ay permanent resident or working or temporary. So, malala, na-amaze lang ako.
Yeah, they know. Employers know. And in as much as I don't want it to be a discouraging thought, but they know. And like what I've said, it shouldn't matter if you could impress them and they know that you're staying and they know that you're not leaving them. Like, yeah.
Yeah. May mga questions pa tayo dito sa ating Facebook, but I just want to go back to the private questions natin. Ross, thank you very much for your question. Of course, we have another question from Jane. Jane is on our YouTube, to our webinar. Miss Alba, hypothetical lang po. How to answer the question, how you see yourself 5 years from now in this company? Kung hindi naman po talaga ayun yung gusto mong work, nagkataon lang natawagan ng employer, thank you po. Ano daw magandang sagot doon, Miss Alba?
Before I tell you how to answer that, the answer for you is fake it until you make it. So when you go to an interview, you don't go, well, di ko naman ito talaga gusto, napalitan lang ako kasi ganito, right? So I'll share. When I went for my interview for a fast food work, I didn't go, di ko naman talaga ito gusto. Meron akong master's degree, engineer ako sa Pilipinas, tapos magtatrabaho ako sa fast food.
Correct.
Diba? So
Yeah.
I went like, I see myself, maybe I've been promoted as a supervisor. And then I see myself growing in this company. I've brought in a lot of clients. I've served clients with a smile.
Yes.
Fake it until you make it. Because remember, in the job offer, there is a way to politely refuse it if you're like, oh my God, I'm really not going to do it because now they told me I'm going to be cleaning bathrooms and I don't want to clean bathrooms, for example, right?
Yeah.
So, but as long as you're still in the interview, you got to go fake it until you make it.
Yun, napakagandang tips yan. And I think we run out of time and madami pang mga questions. Do you have still time, Miss Alba, to answer questions or we can make it like a chat or post?
Sure, it's okay. We could you guys are cutting through my lunch break, but it's okay. It's okay. It's
so
okay.
maybe for
Go for it. No, it's
15
okay.
minutes or something.
Yeah, go for it.
Thank you, Miss Alba. We have Cheche through our Zoom meeting. Hi, Kap and Miss Alba. How about the applicants from outside Canada and wants to settle in Nova Scotia? Any alternative po?
Alternative when it comes to what?
Yun.
Sorry. Alternative to like job applications or like how to apply?
Maybe siguro. Cheche is still here, I think. Can you unmute and ask question directly to Miss Alba?
Hi po, good evening. Good evening sa Malaysia. From Malaysia po. Yun, na-mention niyo po earlier na you could help if we are inside or in Nova Scotia. So, how about po kami na yun nga, outside Canada pa, tapos yung kung need din po namin like yung assistance nyo.
I think the best, like what I've mentioned, right? So the best, the advantage of knowing a Filipino person who works for this employment center is that, you know, other than, because I know our handouts is not in our website and it's not in Google, but then my team lead allowed me to, you know, the resume tips and cover letter tips, it's in a PDF format. He allowed me to post that and share that to every Filipino that I want to share it to. So the most that I can do is to share that with you and really, really read it well and then do your resume that way already. So when you go to talk to an immigration consultant and they say, oh, well, they would require a resume, you could be like, here you go. Here is my resume Canadianized way. Right? So yeah, that's
thank you. I guess that answered it. Thank you, Kap. Thank you, Alba.
Ang tawag nito, I'm going to share yung PDF. Ang kukunin ko kay Miss Alba and I'm going to post it in our group.
Sige po, Kap. Salamat po.
Hi!
I have to bring her in. She's already getting bored. So
yes,
the baby is in daycare. So at least I just have one for now, but it's okay. She'll be right here. She'll just be quiet.
Yeah. We have another sabi ni Jane, haha. Literally po, I'm laughing while you're talking, Ma'am Alba. I'm not a good liar po kasi I believe they can see it in my eyes. Thank you po.
So, you know what, Jane? It's very funny you said that. When the very first time and the last time that I lied was when I was 7 years old, when my mom asked me, so, darling, did you drink pop? And then the next day, my tonsils were like flaring and I have fever. And she goes, well, you told me you didn't. So that was the first and the last time that I lied. So I hear you, but it will all boil down to you don't need to go to the interview and you don't need to apply if you don't really want to work that job.
And at
Right.
the same time, ang tawag nito, may tinatawag naman na good lies.
Like,
Ay,
yeah,
white lies.
white
White
lies,
lies.
right? But however, I want to stress that there are a lot of opportunities right here, and actually, one of our services at Nova Scotia Works Job Junction, we have a career counselor. So once you get to the intake, if you're lost, well, Miss Alva, I don't know. Do I want to do fast food or do I want to do cleaning? I really can't decide, right? So there you go. You could go see us, take an intake form, be with a case manager, and then you could be referred to a career counselor who would help you. Like, okay, so if you really do not want this, well, there's no point in applying. If it was given because another Filipino forwarded your resume, then you could decline, right? However, even if you don't like it, it's a good practice. It's always a good practice. So keep on applying and keep on, attending those job interviews, right? So
Thank you. Another, I think last question ito. And merong tip si Melanie on demand for Ross. Sabi ni Melanie, Melanie is watching our YouTube channel, and for everyone that are watching on YouTube channel, please click the subscribe button. Sabi ni Melanie on demand, share ko lang po, I recently requested my SIN number online using the Service Canada, and I applied June 11 and I received my post on July 2. So about 3 weeks po ang inabot ng processing, pero ito ay online request. Melanie, thank you for sharing. And sabi ni Gina, very helpful. Thank you for your time sharing this with a heart. And Tap Joey, ito, nasagot na natin lahat ng questions. And I just want to shout out to everyone that are watching on Facebook. Bunso watching from Saudi, Loelin, hello Kap, watching from the Philippines. Gina, hello everyone watching from Hong Kong. Adria, Andrew, Ulito Kit watching from Philippines. Dream to go to Canada. NJ watching from Qatar. Robe Bogards ulit watching from the Philippines. Chilean watching from Oman. Hello Kap watching again from the Philippines. Sabi ni Llewellyn. And yun, wala naman tayong question na na-miss. And I think that's it. So kung may nakalimutan akong nabahasang questions, please message me nilang mga Kap. Again, behalf of When in Halifax Cup Unity, Miss Alva, maraming salamat for sharing your story, your expertise, and of course, because of this live stream, because of this KAPehan sa When in Halifax, marami tayong mga na-inspire, marami tayong natulungan para maabot ang kanilang pangarap na makapunta dito sa Canada. And of course, mga Kap, if you want to connect with Miss Alva, the easiest way to get connected with her is through their website. It's www.jobjunction.ca, and tingnan nyo lang yung kanyang directory, nandun po siya. And again, I just want to highlight, if you are here in Halifax, Nova Scotia, you're looking for a job, the first thing that you need to do is get a SIN number, and second is get connected with the Job Junction para po matulungan kayo maghanap ng trabaho. And the best thing from Job Junction, best thing about Miss Alva is tuturuan ka maghanap ng trabaho. It means that it's a skills. So hindi lang basta bibigyan ka ng trabaho, kundi tuturuan ka maghanap ng trabaho. Kung saan, ito ay lifetime knowledge. So magagamit mo to sa second job mo, third job mo in the future. So it's very helpful mga Kap. So I encourage everyone to get connected with the Job Junction once you are here in Halifax. However, if wala pa kayo dito sa Halifax, you're just dreaming, you're still in the Philippines, in Oman or Dubai, the best thing that Miss Alva can help is share a checklist, a PDF, a guide na isi-share namin dito sa ating When in Halifax community. And yes, thank you very much, Miss Alva. Last parting words or tips?
Well, I always say immigrating to Canada has changed my life. It really did. And I'm very happy. And immigrating is not for everybody. Okay, some people want to stay home, and that's okay too. There's nothing wrong with that. However, if you want to come here, it's your dream, you make it happen. And as Filipinos, we are very, masipag, masighay, matyaga. Don't forget that you have those qualities in you, right? You have those qualities in you. Do not forget your whys, and like all of your skills, you will be able to take with you. So wag mapanghihinaan ng loob. You just connect with the right people to know the right information, and then you do all your hard work, and it will pay off. So
thank you. Thank you. Special K. Thank you very much, Special K. Always here. Special K, any tips or insights?
When we say goodbye. Not great.
Wala naman. Thank you lang, Miss Alva, for sharing. Very inspiring yung story. Sobrang real talk, no, Kap, sa lahat from school to work. And the Filipino community is blessed to have like someone like Miss Alva helping other Filipinos, yung mga new immigrants dito. So yun, thank you very much for again sharing your very
sobra.
Mabuhay.
Welcome.
Yes, sobra. Speaking of get connected with the right people, I strongly suggest also to get connected with the Settle East Coast Facebook group. We're here to help you as well with settling, especially for our kababayans, and follow East Coast Filipino portal. Every Friday we have a interview and share of stories and story and updates dito sa Halifax with Kuya Al and Kuya Donic. And every Saturday, 11 a.m. Manila time, we have a Q&A with Miss Mel of Adjunct International. So that's it, mga Kap. Napahabang ating kapihan sa When in Halifax. It's me, Kap Joey. Follow us on our social media, When in Halifax, YouTube channel and Instagram. And I'm going to log out or sign out our live streaming on Facebook. Sa lahat na nanonood sa Facebook, maraming salamat.
Wala tayong picture, Kap.
Kaya picture mo na. Off ko lang tong sa ating Facebook. Bye mga Kap sa ating YouTube, sa Facebook. And offline ko rin tong live streaming natin sa ating YouTube channel. Sa lahat ng nanonood sa YouTube, maraming salamat. Signing out.